Right in the heart of ancient Athens, a huge debate got started that we're actually still having today, in our courts, in politics, all over social media. It was this epic clash between two ways of seeing the world. On one side, you had Socrates, who was convinced there's a single absolute truth. And on the other, you had the Sophists, these masters of persuasion who basically argued that truth is just whatever you can convince people to believe.
And that really gets to the core of it, doesn't it? It's the question that fueled their entire conflict, and honestly, it still echoes today. Is truth something real, something fixed that we can discover, or is it all just a matter of opinion and who makes the better argument? Okay, let's really get into this. So to get the full picture, we need to go back to 5th century BC Athens. This was a new era, right? Democracy was really taking hold. And if you wanted to get anywhere in life, if you wanted to win a court case or get the public on your side, you had to be an amazing speaker. Persuasion wasn't just some nice-to-have skill, it was literally the key to power. And because everyone suddenly needed this skill, it created a whole new industry. It gave rise to a brand new kind of professional, the traveling teacher, promising to give regular citizens the edge they needed to get ahead. And these teachers, they were called Sophists. Now, originally that word just meant a wise person or a skilled person, but it quickly came to mean something very specific. A pro-educator who would travel from town to town, charging you money for what they knew. And you gotta understand, this was a totally radical idea back then. So what were they teaching for that fee? Well, it was all about practical skills. They taught the art of rhetoric, how to be a really persuasive speaker. They train you to argue any side of an issue, to win debates, and, this is the really controversial part, how to take a weak argument and make it sound strong. For them, it wasn't about finding the truth. It was about winning. This whole win-at-all-costs approach, it was actually rooted in a very deep philosophical belief. The idea that there's no such thing as an absolute, objective truth out there for us to find anyway. Protagoras, who was one of the most famous sophists, he summed up their whole worldview with this one line. And when you stop and think about what that really means for knowledge, well, it changes everything. You see, if man is the measure, it means there's no outside standard to judge things by. What seems true to me is true for me. What seems true to you is true for you. Think about it. The ocean isn't objectively cold or warm. If you think it's cold, then for you, it's cold. If I think it's warm, then for me, it's warm. Truth just becomes totally personal, totally subjective. Then you had another major sophist, Gorgias, who took this whole idea to the absolute extreme. He basically argued, first, nothing actually exists. Second, even if something did exist, we could never know it. And third, even if we could know it, we could never, ever communicate it to someone else. I mean, that just completely blows up the connection between reality, our thoughts, and the words we use. Now, standing in complete opposition to this entire way of thinking was a man who just wandered around Athens. He wasn't there to sell his wisdom. He was there to question it. And his name was Socrates. This is maybe Socrates' most famous line, and it's a total paradox, right? While the sophists were out there claiming they had all the answers, Socrates started from a place of, well, humility. He believed the Oracle of Delphi called him the wisest man alive because he was the only one who was aware of how little he actually knew. And for him, that awareness, that was the real starting point for any genuine knowledge. For Socrates, truth wasn't something you could bend or sell. No way. It was universal. It was absolute, and he believed you could find it inside every single person's soul, inside their consciousness. The whole point of life wasn't to win an argument, it was to know thyself, to look inward and figure out the real, unchanging principles of what it means to be good and virtuous. So to do this, Socrates came up with this really unique teaching style he called Maieutics. See, his mother was a midwife, and he kind of saw himself as an intellectual midwife. He wasn't there to just dump knowledge into people's heads. Instead, he thought his job was to help people give birth to the truths that were already inside them, just waiting to be discovered. So how did this whole birthing process actually work? Well, it was a two-step deal. First came the irony. Socrates would go up to someone who claimed to be an expert on something, let's say justice, and he'd start asking these really simple questions. And pretty soon, those questions would show that the so-called expert's beliefs were actually full of contradictions. The whole point was to break down their false confidence. And only then Once they admitted they didn't have all the answers, could the second part begin? A real dialogue, a shared hunt for a real universal truth.
So, what we've got here are two completely different paths to what you might call wisdom. Let's just put them right next to each other so you can see how deep this disagreement really was.
I mean, the contrast is just wow. For the Sophists, truth is relative, the goal is to win, and the tool is a good speech. For Socrates, truth is universal, the goal is to become a better person, and the method is a back-and-forth dialogue. At the end of the day, one philosophy was all about achieving external success, while the other was about looking inward to take care of your own soul.
So, who won? In this epic intellectual showdown, what was the final outcome? Well, the results were both tragic and incredibly profound, and they ended up shaping Western thought for thousands of years.
In the short term, Socrates, well, he lost. Big time. His constant questioning of authority, of everything people thought they knew, was seen as dangerous. The powerful people in Athens accused him of corrupting the city's youth, and in 399 BC, they sentenced him to death.
The Sophists' reputation took a hit too. Over time, mostly because of the writings of Socrates' student, Plato, the word sophistry got a really bad name. It came to mean an argument that sounds really smart and persuasive on the surface, but is actually empty and designed to trick you.
But, and this is the big but, in the long run, it was Socrates' ideas that really won. His passionate search for truth, his focus on how to live an ethical life, his whole method of questioning everything, that became the bedrock that almost all of Western philosophy was built on. The questions he was asking back then are the very same questions we're still grappling with today.
So here's the real takeaway. The mission of Socrates wasn't just some historical thing for ancient Athens. It's really a challenge for every single one of us. He famously said that the unexamined life is not worth living. And that kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about. What is the most important question that you're not asking yourself?